Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Elevate interview. I'm here with my man Drew. Drew, how you doing today, brother?
Doing well, doing well. How are you?
Doing fantastic, man. Just got my time in the gym done, and we just talked before this. Drew's about to hit some deadlifts after this, so we got to get him on his way, get him to the platform. What
Yep,
uh,
it's a goal.
what number are you building for right now on the deadlift platform?
Max weight, you mean? 400 is kind of the number I'm building to. So fairly new to them. So I've been working on it about 6 months or so.
Awesome.
That's kind of the goal for this year is to hit 400.
Yeah, that's huge, man. So Drew is down over 100 pounds, and at this point, I'm sure he's probably tired of hearing that. I feel like every time people are talking about Drew, they're talking about his weight loss journey, but it's much bigger than that. You know, Drew has completely transformed his identity through this journey. I've had the experience of connecting with him. Um, what's it been, like 2 years now?
Yeah, a
We've
little over
known
two
each other.
years now. Yeah.
So over 2 years now, and I've gotten firsthand experience at seeing Drew's identity just completely transform. And so I'm excited to dive into that transformation and just the key things that played a role in that beyond just the body weight. And then Drew had the opportunity to come to our Sedona event and rip some UTVs out in the desert. And then we just came off of backpacking out in Washington as well. So we'll dive into those experiences. But let's talk about just your identity. Like, what do you feel has played the biggest role in shifting your identity to who you are today versus who you were?
Yeah. So I I guess my identity for I just hit 40 years old. So my identity for say post college until about 38 was very much just kind of your standard. You go to college, you get your job, you work your job, and then eventually you retire with hope that you have enough money to have a good retirement. And
Yeah.
really didn't look at kind of self improvement. Didn't really look at kind of you know building my own. Yeah, everything was kind of based off of more material items and just kind of checking the boxes and not really being intentional about like living life and actually living it to the fullest. So that's really where it kind of changed is 38 and kind of prompting that my dad passed away suddenly that year and kind of just made me look at it where he busted his ass for 40 years working, passed away at 64, about a year before he was planning to retire and sell his business and have this great retirement that he had planned out, and
Yeah.
just kind of realizing that you could work your entire life with this big plan and then that could all be gone. So really started thinking about what do I want to do and what do I want it to look like, and not just when I'm retired, but what do I want my life to look like now, and try to really reevaluate that. And part of that was, as you mentioned, the weight loss and just being just super unhealthy and not happy with that part of my life, but also going through my dad's passing, kind of reconnecting with my faith as well, and
Mm.
really starting to get back into that because it had been quite a while since I was. Um, and I don't even know if I ever was truly serious with it, but it's been quite a while since I was even trying to be serious, I'll say.
Yeah. Through that kind of, let's call it eye-opening experience, an experience that, I hate hearing every time I hear your story, losing your dad. I know you were close with him. But through that eye-opening experience, you got the chance to sit and think about the man you want to become, the legacy you kind of want to leave. I'm curious, just like, was there seed or like a mantra or like what was the focus? When you sat down and looked in the mirror, was there like a thing where you were like, this is it, this is what I'm going to focus on, this is what I'm going to build? Does that make sense?
It makes sense. Yeah, I don't know if I ever had a strict this is the goal, and I think that's still something I'm working on, trying to figure out what that end game is. I think the way I looked at it is I had this idea of life that kind of to me was almost felt like coasting, felt like I was just living day to day, kind of living for the weekend, as people say, and just not really doing anything to improve on current state. I was very satisfied. In my close group, I was, I'm a successful one. Everyone, you kind of look at me and say, okay, everything's going well. I got the nice house, got the nice job, everything's going well. But
Yeah.
there's just so much more that could be had, and I think that's what kind of triggered me, kind of realizing like, there has to be more than just doing my 9 to 5 job every day and sitting on the couch after work every day. So I think the goal and kind of what I was aiming towards is just figuring out what that next thing is going to be and what that kind of eventual state that I want to be in is. And again, I think I'm still working on that, but in the meantime, just trying to improve in all aspects of life, whether it's my health or my faith or my relationships, whatever it may be. But really kind of focusing on those different areas and trying to get a little bit better every day, I guess.
Yeah. Amen. And I would say that you're definitely not alone in that. I think we're all, still searching every day. I think that some days seem clearer than others. There's some days where the faith is on fire and it feels like you got clarity on the rest of your life, at least for me. And then other days it's like, oh, it's all burning down. What now? Type of mentality. So we all experience kind of those ebbs and flows. But I'm curious, like after you hit this, let's just call it rock bottom moment, eye opening moment, losing your dad, and it's like, all right, it's time to build something. It's time to become somebody. There's a lot more potential I have than what I'm actualizing. Let's say, what kind of key factors played a huge role in the transformation you've made over the last 2 years from that day forward?
I think it took about 6 months before I started to really make any changes. It kind of slowly started with just started to follow some different people on social media and
Mm.
get some different voices in my head and trying to kind of change what those inputs were, and
Yeah.
then getting connected to you know Gabe Plugas, Joe Johan with Default Kings. Then that kind of spurred the whole fitness side of things as well as my faith, because that's what I started to follow on socials was anything kind of fitness related, anything faith related, and trying to just take that information in and kind of figure out where I was going during that time. I started attending church, but just kind of going week to week, not really getting too deep into it. And then once I got set up with the Fall Kings, then I think 4 months into that was got the opportunity to meet you. Really just trying to surround myself with people that are on that same path, not necessarily just weight loss, but just path of trying to lead a life, just a life of self improvement, a life of becoming a better person every day, a life of following Jesus and being engaged with their faith and strong with their faith, because that's just not something that I've really ever surrounded myself with. So I think that was just really important to kind of keep me motivated, keep me moving in the right direction, is just being around people and seeing people in my close circle of people that I could reach out to
Yeah.
that were leading the life that I wanted to live. And yeah, I don't know if that answers the question, but
No,
I feel like that's
absolutely. Sounds like the biggest key, I guess, goes to the core of community, surrounding yourself with better inputs, iron sharpens iron type
yeah.
of mentality. But something we've talked about in the past is like the inner dialogue. And I'm just curious for you because I obviously came to all this super young. It's something that I'm extremely grateful for. I thank God all the time. Like, I feel extremely blessed to have put my life in Jesus, at 20 years old, rather than kind of what you're saying, having gone through a majority of my life and then kind of having this wake up call, let's say. So, but for you, you got to experience 20 years of what you call just kind of coasting, living for the weekend. Eventually I'll retire and my retirement's set. I'm good. I'll go, sit Mai Tais on the beach or whatever it is. So, what's kind of the difference, like the inner dialogue with these inputs in these communities with the kind of the iron sharpens iron mentality? Like, take yourself back to, years ago. What did a day look like in that inner dialogue versus what does it look like today? Like, you see what I'm saying? What's the
Mhm.
contrasting differences there?
Yeah, the inner dialogue, it's so important. and it goes back to what you said about community as well, because the inner dialogue, the people I surround myself with were, and still a lot of my, still some of my best friends, were very much kind of settled in the places we were. We just you get up, you do your job, and after work you down and watch TV, or not in my case, but a lot of my friends' cases, play video games or whatever it may be. Still even at this age, but and that inner dialogue was just, this is enough. This is, I'm, making good money. I have money coming in. What's the need of trying to, do more? And I think what changed going, after kind of post or starting with weight loss and moving on was, surrounding yourself with these communities that are, everyone's striving for more. No one's kind of settled, and no one's happy in their current position, whether they're your age or whether they're older than me, whatever it may be. Everyone's striving to get to that next level, and I think that inner dialogue just started to change, where instead of be happy with where you're at, it's what else is there, and what else can I do to become better. And I think a lot of that was kind of getting around, there's a lot of people you talk to, or people in my life that I talk to, that, I say that type of thing, and they're like, "What are you talking about? You're successful. Like there's no need, or you're too." I've gotten these comments: "You're too old to do that type of thing. Or too old to change." And it's like,
Yeah.
so that really is, just kind of a societal thing, where it's, you know, success is looked at as, how big your house is or what kind of car you drive, as opposed to what you're actually going through on the inside, and how you're improving as a person, as opposed to just the material items in your life.
Yeah. Let's switch gears and kind of talk about the inside, because I know you've mentioned your faith and we've got to connect over that. First thing on the inside is like the relationships you did have. Like I've experienced past relationships and they saw me change, and transparently I don't have any relationships from the past version of me. Like, not that any of those people are bad people. They're all amazing people. They're all doing great things in their own regard. They just didn't align with my values, and I found people who did. And so I I why would I guess the word I'm going to say is settle, but that doesn't sound right. Um but for you, like, what did you see out of other people, out of the people around you, the friends you had, as you were making this change? I mean, you're down over 100 pounds. Like, it's an identity transformation, but the biggest sign of it is the physical weight loss. That's the biggest glaring obvious thing that people can see. That's why so many people talk about it. So now when you step into your friend groups, because I know you still have the same, still have a lot of the same friends, like, what are the conversations now? Are they like, Drew, like, what's going on, man? What changed? Are you leading them? Like, how's that kind of going?
Yes, I think that's been kind of the big change for me. I feel like, because starting it, it's kind of a new, kind of a shock to them. They're not used to, okay, if we go out on a Friday or Saturday night or whatever, they're not used to me, just drinking water or not drinking, or not ordering some crazy amount of food at the end of the night, as you do when you drink too much.
Yeah,
And I pretty much cut out alcohol, 99% of the time, except the occasional time we go out, like after the backpacking trip. But
yeah,
yeah, so at the beginning it's like, hey, have a drink, have a drink. You can have a drink. It's not a big deal. Let's do a shot, whatever. It took a while to get to that point where it just kind of became more normal that I wasn't drinking and not partaking in that. And it took just kind of repetition and being, continuing to go out with them and continuing to engage, but just them realizing that, okay, this is like a long-term change. This is a lifetime change. This isn't just, something he's doing for for the month or whatever. And I think, as time has gone on, because we're, coming up on, actually it'll be 2 years in December since I started, so a little off on the time from before, but as go on now, I feel like I am more leading in that regard. My one of my good friends, he's on his healthy eating and workout kick now. my other good friend, I have much, deeper conversations with him. He doesn't live nearby, but we talk on the phone at least a couple times a week, just about life and things he's going through and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it's much more intentional relationships, I'll say, and definitely, yeah, I'm now looked at as the healthy one, or the one you go to if you have questions about that type of thing or whatever it may be. So I feel like the relationships have changed, definitely. The priorities from just going out and kind of like partying, whatever you want to say, to now more you know conversation, still going out at times, but just in a different way. And then
Yeah.
more physical activity type stuff, more hiking, more kayaking, more going camping and that type of thing, as opposed to the pool all day drinking.
Yeah. That's amazing to hear, brother. Curious, just like what role has your faith played in all this? Because I can just feel like there's a verse in Corinthians. I wish I could quote it, but essentially it says like we are made new in Christ, and an old version of us dies. And I mean that's exactly what's happened, in your life over the last. It's crazy to even say like year and a half, basically. Like so much can happen in a year when you're intentional. You probably feel that more than I do. Probably feels like you've done more in the last year and a half than maybe that 20-year span of coasting. Um, but in the identity transformation, like what role did faith kind of play for you?
So I think it played a big role. Again, after my dad passed, it took about 2 or 3 months for me to kind of find a church and start going back to church and just start to get into that weekly practice. And then, once I got involved with Default Kings and then with you and Elevate, that really cemented that into my life. Because again, I was going to church every week, but you get only so much out of an hour service, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But once you actually start to get around people and do Bible studies and have these conversations and actually see people that are living boldly through their faith, I think that really helps to cement it for you as well, to say, hey, this is possible to live this way, and it's you see the fruits of living that way through the people that you're interacting with, and you want that for yourself. So I feel like faith has really just the best way to say it, but faith has really just been kind of that stable spot for me to go back to
Hmm.
when I do struggle, because I'm not perfect whatsoever. I fall off the health wagon on occasion and kind of go back to old ways, and then I feel like faith is always kind of my cornerstone to come back to and kind of get reset in the direction I'm supposed to go.
Yeah. It's amazing to hear. Well, one, that just the grace of God, you really feeling that in your life to be able to come back even though you've messed up, let's say. But also the second point I was going to make is just like immersing yourself in DK and Elevate, surrounding yourself with this level of community. It's like it's a new way of life. It's a new standard. Like like living boldly is the expectation type of mentality. So it's really cool to hear. But I'm curious, going back to that kind of touch on inner dialogue and faith. You talked about like kind of just attacks from the enemy in your head of like you're too old, or who are you to try to do this, or like you're set, you're successful, like why are you trying to change now type of thing. Like has faith played a role in fighting those kind of verbal mental battles that go on that we all experience?
Yeah, I would say so. Again, I feel like it's kind of like that stable place to go back to. Yeah, it gives some structure and some meaning to everything, I feel like. But in regards that inner dialogue, again, that's something that I met you 4 months into in April. I think I started in December. In April is when we first met, and that's something that you talked about a lot is living boldly. And I took that to heart, and really started to do that in all aspects. Whether it was just saying yes to things I typically wouldn't have said yes to in the past, and just trying to put myself out there as much as possible, and that included my faith. Whereas up until that point, I wasn't even telling people like in my close inner circle that I was like going to church, or that I was
Mm.
involved with individuals that are strong with their faith and really helping me to go in that direction. I was very much, just kind of keeping it to myself and my own kind of personal story, I'll say. Whereas kind of after that, I was willing to talk about it and, was telling people, about it, inviting my friend to these men's groups with me through church, and just being more open and I'll say honest with, kind of what I was going through. Whereas, prior to that, I was really kind of living it alone. Besides, I had the online community, but personally, in my day to day life, I wasn't talking about it. I wasn't, even to my family and closest friends, and no one knew I was doing anything like that. So I feel like that just really living boldly and just not trying to almost hide my faith, but say that, hey, this is a part of me and this is something I'm doing every on a daily basis.
Yeah, it really helps to break that distance between who you see yourself as and who you actually are. I think like there's always kind of a version of us that we can project, a version that we're striving for. When you're in the self development mindset, you kind of see a version of you down the road, and then there's kind of who you are. And when you live boldly, you can really close that gap. And I feel like that is what you're saying is you've done a lot of that of like I see myself as this guy. I know I can be this leader that talks about his faith, that is the healthy one in the friend group, etc. I just need to take the bold action to be that and to get there, and you've done that. It's incredible.
Yeah, I tried towing the line for many months, where it's like, okay, when I'm on Zoom calls with the DK guys or you or whoever it may be, I'm the faith and fitness and moving forward. And then when I'm in my friends group or my family, I'm like, oh, the same old Drew. So I like literally had these like dual personalities almost for the first 4 or 5 months of this journey, until I decided, hey, I'm like, why am I trying to keep the old person there while also trying to become better on this other side? Like, why wouldn't I want my closest friends and family to also experience this new person I'm becoming?
Yeah, yeah, I'm into that. Well, in the name of living boldly and saying yes to things you probably wouldn't have before, I would say that played a role in your reason for coming to Sedona and then coming on this backpacking trip with us as well. So let's touch on those before we close this thing out. With Sedona specifically, like what was kind of just your favorite part of that experience? It ripping UTVs?
That was definitely fun. Almost flipping us a couple times. That was fun.
Yeah, you, not me.
I said I almost
Yeah,
flipped us a couple times. Yeah, so that was definitely fun. Something I haven't experienced before. Just love that. Love the hiking. That's my thing. I love to hike. But yeah, I think the best part about that was just being in the house and having those conversations and just that camaraderie, and being around people that are all in positive mindset, growing in their faith, and just you know it's like just fills your cup up to to no end. It's just constant, just positive dopamine throughout that entire weekend. And that's the thing I liked about it the most. And anytime I, do a trip like that, it just, that's what I seem to take out of it is, yeah, the experiences, the UTVs, hiking, it's all great, but just those conversations and just getting built up personally, I feel like is the biggest value for sure.
yeah, it's incredible. I think little context on the whole UTV experience. Drew and I got to ride together, so we had like I don't know 9 guys or something, and we rented 4 or 5 of these UTVs, and so we got to pick a partner who we were going to ride with. And I'm kind of looking around the group, surveying, and I'm like, you know what, Drew's responsible, he's safe. Like if I go with Drew, because I did not want to be the daredevil out there, and I think you were kind of a little nervous going into it with me, thinking I was going to be a lot more
Sure.
bullish than I was on
Mhm.
that thing. And so I'm like, all right, Drew's safe. He's responsible. I'll want him, ride with him. I'll trade back and forth. I value my life type of thing. And you ended up being far more daredevil than I was behind the wheel of that thing, man.
Yeah, I definitely thought going into it with you that yeah, it was going to be like, okay, I'm hold on for my life here with Max. He's just crazy with this stuff. But no, yeah, I definitely wanted to see what they could do, and yeah, it was fun for sure.
Yeah, it was a blast. And I told you, I said I was the one who had to put down the security deposit on those. Like, we're not doing anything reckless. So
Yeah.
let's switch gears to the backpacking trip. Obviously, it's more recent, just a couple weeks ago. Just walk me through kind of your experience with that. Like, signing up. I know hiking is a big thing. Had you ever backpacked before like that? Like, was it a first time or?
Yeah, so yeah, in Sedona, I mentioned to you, hey, as soon as backpacking trip is scheduled, let me know. I'll definitely be in on that. And yeah, you did. You texted me, and literally, I signed up within a couple minutes.
Yeah.
So I was definitely excited to go. I had backpacked very little. Just like did an overnight here, and out just outside Phoenix here, and then did a little bit in Washington, but it was more of kind of like a one night and then just normal camping.
Mm.
So yeah, I hadn't had any over one night backpacking experiences before. So, definitely was something I knew was going to be a challenge. And just the distance that we were planning out was definitely going to be a challenge, but something I was super excited for.
Yeah. What throughout the whole experience, just what was your favorite part of the backpacking experience?
Yeah, so definitely, kind of split it into two veins, on the physical side versus the just personal side. But on the physical side, I love being able to push myself. One thing kind of going through this whole fitness and weight loss journey is being able to do these things that I wasn't able to do in the past. So something
Mm.
that, there's zero chance I would have agreed to do a 30 to 40 mile backpacking trip, 2 years ago. So that's always something that I really enjoy and take a lot of kind of internal pride for, is just being able to go on these trips and keep up with a lot of guys that are much younger than me, and a lot in running.
Not keep up, lead the way, man.
Hey,
You
hey,
crushed.
I'll
I'm
take it.
not joking.
Yeah, so I that's what I really take a lot of pride in that, and just being able, like you said, like leading the way. I'm typically in the front of the pack on these hikes and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I enjoy that, and that's something that really you know is is big for me internally. Um, so that was great, but then also, just on the more personal side, the times that we even weren't hiking, but just the times at the campsite, around the fire, and just having those conversations, and kind of getting deep into some things, and people being super open and honest with things that they again probably don't share with people that are closest to them in their lives, but they come on this trip with what was it, 9 guys that some of us have never met before, and most of us never met in person before, and we're sharing these things with each other that again aren't things that we're typically talking about on a day-to-day basis. So I think it's just super powerful, and really really eye-opening that you can do that, and just be open and honest, and get feedback, and have those conversations with people that are in a similar position as you. So that's something I really enjoyed, is just those conversations, and those times that we were able to just chill and talk, and talk about faith, and just life in general.
Yeah. The vulnerability is just it's on another level. I am just so blessed to be able to go to all of these. Like, it's a dream come true, truly. Like, I say that as grateful and as humbly as I can. But if you'd have told me this, a couple of years ago, that this is what life would look like, I'd be blown away that I'm going on these trips. But more so, not just the epic experience of the beauty of Washington, but what you're saying. Like, I get to lead these trips and feel God's presence in them, and it's when guys are opening up and getting vulnerable, and it just blows me away, man. It fills my cup, and it leaves me just knowing God's presence is a part of this mission. And I think a big piece of that was kind of that final prayer circle. I just felt like that was a special moment, something that honestly didn't plan on doing, had never done before. Mitch and I were hiking, and we were kind of just talking about vulnerability, and he actually had the idea while we were climbing the Snow Lake. He was like, I think it'd be really cool to do something like this, and I was like, all right, I'll do it. So, we come back next morning, get up, we're ready to take the last leg on of this trip. And so I opened it up for a prayer circle, and I didn't know what was going to come. I was just throwing it out there, seeing what happens. And we actually did it on the Gauda's working call last night as well. It was incredible. Again, guys got super vulnerable there, and I'm excited to see that kind of stick around. I think guys can get into an understanding of what that is, and it'll really help to get vulnerable. But reason I'm bringing it up is because I want to get your experience of it. Have you ever done anything like that? And what was kind of just your experience?
No, definitely nothing like that. Yeah, I thought it was a great experience. It was, yeah, again, I've, been of course, seen people being prayed over and that type of thing. But again, the vulnerability part about it always impacts me a lot, just because, again, these aren't, conversations, and these aren't things that in my personal experience in my life that are had even with, again, my closest friends and family. And then, for some reason in this environment, it just, you're able to kind of bring these things up and talk about things with these people, again, that you've, just met in a lot of cases, and just feel completely comfortable that, those things are going to be, taken seriously, and that, when, someone's praying over you, that they're truly, invested in doing that for you. And it was pretty powerful just to see, again, even people that, weren't as open throughout the trip, during that time became very open, and, very, very vulnerable. So yeah, I think it was just a really, really impactful part of the trip, and was definitely an amazing way to end it before that final hike.
Yeah, I think the intentionality you spoke about earlier in this is really the reason why we see that vulnerability, and why you're saying like it's taken serious. Like, I know if I share something that's heavy on my heart, it's going to be met with the same level of emotional commitment, let's say, and spiritual commitment, to the prayer or to whatever it is. It's just the intentionality, like, hey, that guy next to me, like, he's invested time and money to be here, and he's striving for that next level just like I am, like you're talking about. We're equally yoked in that way. We both share the same foundational values. That's why we're here. We both share those aspirations. Like, there's just so many dots of relatability that connect across the board, and it creates this level of vulnerability and intentionality to where you're 36 hours into meeting somebody, and you're kind of sharing some of the biggest struggles you've ever had in your life, which is it's pretty wild to say. But let's bring it back kind of surface level. I'm going to hit you with some just rapid fire, fun, elevate questions about the community itself, the online aspect. First question I got for you is just, what's your favorite aspect of the online community?
So definitely like the weekly Bible study. Yeah, I'm typically on the Wednesday call when I can be on there. So that's always a great thing. Again, just kind of get me back rooted throughout the week. But also the fitness side of things, that's always a big motivator. Just seeing person after person posting all these, wins and all these things they're doing fitness wise, it just pushes me to keep pushing on, and to do more, and to add things into my, week that I typically wouldn't do. So that's definitely a big part of it for me, is seeing that fitness channel just blowing up on a consistent basis.
Yeah, it inspires me, man. That new run club, I
Oh
see
my
those
gosh.
runs getting dropped in there all the time before I even wake up. Some guys have already got 5, 10 miles
Yeah.
down. I'm like,
Yeah, that
yeah,
one
the
makes me feel a little
culture.
bit lazy sometimes, because I'm sitting here just walking on my treadmill desk working, and they're like, oh, so and so clocked in 8 miles. Like, oh, great.
Yeah, like, oh, I better get outside and do something,
Yeah,
man, for
exactly.
sure. The culture is on the rise, absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, Another fun question I got, second to last question here, is if you could just get lunch with a handful of guys in the community, let's say four guys, excluding me, because I know you choose me, but who would those guys be?
Oh wow. Oh, got to include my guy Vinny Satal. He's always, we keep in touch outside the group as well. But we both started in DK, and and both joined Elevate as well. So yeah, he's definitely up there. Um, yeah, Grant is Grant Messner, someone I've enjoyed kind of getting to know as well. Through Vinny also, through Vinny's investment club calls.
Yeah.
Um, Peyton's always a amazing person to hang out with. I got the opportunity to do that in Sedona, as well as the backpacking trip, of course. And then he was able to stay with me for a couple of days, so that was great. Always love to hang out with him. Let's see here, and of course he's community leader and always someone that pumps you up. I've had multiple connect calls with him, and you always go away from there wanting to run through a wall just with what he accomplishes on a daily basis. So just love that as well. And yeah, it kind of goes back to a lot of the folks that we went on that go on the trips with, because those are the ones I feel like I'm closest with. But Matt Owens, again, he's someone that was great to connect with prior to the trip and on the trip. So yeah, definitely someone that I'd like to continue that relationship with.
Yeah. I actually had Bible study one on one with Matt this morning.
Mm.
We got this thing rolling in Joshua, and it's just amazing time getting in the Word with him. He's got such a emotional, I don't know, like intelligence, maturity about him, where it's just always great connecting. But
Yeah,
last question I got for you, and this is just a low hanging fruit for me. If someone's considering joining the community, just what would your advice be to them?
I think definitely I would recommend it anytime. Whether it's something, whether it's you're dealing with getting into faith, getting into fitness, or just feeling like you just don't have the community. I feel like right now in society, that's one of the biggest issues out there are guys, especially, just kind of living life alone. And yeah, I've heard recent stats where most guys can't say they have even one or two what they would consider close friends.
Mm.
And yeah, I feel like that lack of community is just leading to a lot of guys that just aren't reaching their potential, just not becoming leaders like they should be, and just not again, just not living up to what they could in their lives. And having that community and seeing people that are growing and are improving on a daily basis, whether you're just starting, getting out of high school, whatever it may be, and starting your life, and looking for some role models to base your time after, or whether you're like myself and kind of a little halfway through your life and wanting to kind of do a reset. I feel like community is needed across the board, and it's just so important to being just a good functional person.
Yeah, amen to that, brother. Appreciate you taking the time, jumping on, and sharing just a fraction of your story. I'm excited to just continue to see you grow, continue to see how God is working in your life, because I know these last 18 months to almost 2 years now, it's just the beginning. God's got so much in store for you, dude. I think everyone who meets you, who gets a chance to spend some time with you, can see that. So I'm excited to see what's to come, man.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you.